Okay. Can we have an approval of the minutes of the previous meeting?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, any special appointments, bid openings. Bid openings. John, we are gonna be, I believe last year in April, we opened our bids,
Yeah.
right? So we have to have your bid specs out and we gotta advertise it through the clerk,
Right.
10 days previous. We'll have, yeah, should do it in the next couple weeks. Democrats our paper, and then John, you send them out to all the vendors that we deal with, right?
Yep.
Just so we know for the next meeting that we'll be accepting the bids and accepting or denying, I should say. All right,
One question on that. Are we gonna bid road sand? Are we gonna bid quarry stone dust or sand?
Well, whichever one is cheaper.
well, and there's,
In the past, it's been the quarry.
Yeah,
well, there's also certain specs we gotta put out, whether it's county specs or something that you make up. Have you got an idea about that, or? Cause I know the anti-skid was kinda, you have a plan for it?
Our last experiences with the road sand hasn't been good.
Well, we put it on the road and then we dig it out of the ditch. And it maybe stays on the road for a little while, maybe it
But it
doesn't.
has a nice color to it.
People know you've been there. Fair enough. All right, okay, correspondence. I don't have anything earth shattering here. We have some more paperwork bestowed upon us by Workers' Compensation Board. We have to file every quarter with a form, our payroll, total payroll that has to be sent to self-insurance at the county. It's a new thing they came up with. Sandy's surprised, like the bookkeeper's surprised of it, and they came and visit us. The IDA, in their great deal with the pipeline. We got a check, a pilot, payment of $89,5258, almost $9,000. I believe that's up about $1,000.
Their new pipeline hadn't ought to be depreciated that much.
Well, it's not, no, it went up 1,000, because it's a graduated scale for 5 years, 6 years.
That's
The-
how come we took a beating when the last time.
The problem is they're gonna start depreciating it at that, you know. Drew David off an effort, Edwards, he's waiting for addresses, on the cable agreement. I have been in contact, there's more to this than meets the eye, I wanna get it right. There are different percentages you can charge, based on usage in the area, based on packages. I'm not crazy about jacking it up because you're just taxing people more because they just pass it down the line. So, the other thing is, what she told me, our last agreement was 20 houses per mile, which is also part of the negotiation because I think Asadea is gonna lack that a little bit. But, I'm gonna fight on that no matter what. So that's still in the works. This is from Monica, this is the same stuff with workers' comp. This is ironic as heck. On February 10th, Governor Cuomo announced availability of $50 million in federal funding for the Transportation Alternatives Program. I am pleased to offer this solicitation for projects, which will be selected and administered by New York State Department of Transportation. Transportation, the TAP was authorized by Congress through the passage of the 2012-14 Transportation Bill. Eligible project categories include on and off-road pedestrian and bicycle facilities, infrastructure projects for improving non-driver access to public transportation. There's a few webinars on this.
From that long list, it's gonna be hard to do something.
$50 million for bicycle paths and walking paths, but we got no money
They fill the holes.
for asphalt. Thank you, Governor Cuomo. Okay, equalization rate, this is the town of Rockland, they always ask for a special equalization rate, that's a normal thing. It's a segment special equalization rate established by the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance. This is in regards to the Roscoe Central School District. They have to notify us because part of their school district's in town of Fremont. Okay. They passed a resolution. We had 52 correction of errors for the Long A Water District, in which case the County of Sullivan, in their infinite wisdom, just changed the Long Eddy Water District from a billing agency to a taxing entity, along with our resolution for a re-levy of unpaid water bills. It boggles the mind. Nonetheless, it's all been taken care of. I believe all the people in the Long Eddy Water District, if they paid their taxes, were paid back their money, or there was a correction of error made. Has anybody heard of a guy by the name of Barry E. Dye? Okay, then I shouldn't have to worry about, this has to do with New York State retirement. Yeah, one of those crazy things. There's a guy somewhere in the town of Fremont somewhere who they're looking to get information on. And I brought it just in case there was something that I missed. Yeah, that's what
I don't
thank
recognize
you.
the family name.
Thank you. Yeah,
Die?
thank you.
No,
Exactly. Okay,
maybe it's the wrong town.
yeah,
Maybe it's the other Fremont.
I'm sure.
Fremont, California.
I'm sure it is.
There's another town. in
That's what
Fremont,
it is,
so
yeah.
Yeah, up in Steuben County, I think. Okay, this is also, what's that, Parkville, yeah, above, yeah. Let me see, which one will we go about this, agenda topics? The Time Warner, those guys, they're still working on it. It hasn't exactly been the best weather to be out monkeying around, walking up and down the road. Lake Muscadet Bridge, Brian and John have been working on that. I sent a letter to Senator Bonasek's office on the 22nd, asking for as much as $100,000. They have a revolving loan fund where the grants go up to, oddly enough, $100,000. I had not heard anything. It was kind of concerned. Last week I gave them a call and I didn't hear back from them. So I was gonna do another follow-up today, and I received 2 phone calls. One from a fella on the New York State Department of Transportation who wanted to know about the bridge, the location, who owned it, was it on a town road, what was the actual, was it a culvert, was it an actual bridge? The next phone message I got was from a fella representing Bonasek's office. And he wanted to know similar questions. I called them both back, they both owe me calls tomorrow. So that's encouraging, they at least got back to us and sounded like they had a level of interest in it, which, you know, we're gonna need what we can get. I don't know, Brian, what do you have, anything?
Did you get the numbers back on some boosted?
Yeah. 23,000.
I think that makes it pretty simple
So,
then.
right.
The precast, to do precast
Deck.
concrete beams, 23,000 plus you're talking roughly $4,000 a day for a crane to be able to set them. If you do cast in place concrete deck, I got a rough estimate depending on actual specs and drawings, of like 10,000.
Should be.
Yeah,
That's a no-brainer.
I,
Sort of making our day, but I,
yeah, I, you know,
you know,
If it's
professional.
okay with the board, I would reach out to Will Illing, the engineer of the dam, and ask him to have him put some designs together, because he has everything in his computer. He can probably do it in about 10 minutes' time. If he would prefer, I have no problem. If he wants me to do some sketches and then he puts them in, I'd be happy to do that. But he has everything from the dam design in his CAD program. So my thought is let him
It's a
generate some drawings for us for
It's
cast
a
in place,
courtesy
and then
to
we
go anywhere.
can,
we've been dealing with
Give
the
some prices.
Billing family for our engineering on a lot of projects, and I don't see this as a significant expense. So, and he's the one dealing with it, I think it only makes sense to deal with him. He's responsible for the whole project that way.
I
It
don't
will
know,
make it
Bob,
easier to
do
tie
you
everything.
think they should put a floating pad on it, like, so if something does happen?
that's what I want to ask him.
Yeah.
My guess is you're gonna have to pin one side
Mm-hmm.
and float, you can float the other. Jim, help me out if I'm off base here, but that to me would, you know,
What's the span?
it'd be roughly 18 feet.
Yeah, it's not a
You
big
know,
project.
it's not a huge span, it's not a big opening, but I don't think you can completely float the whole thing.
Yeah, probably not.
You're gonna have to pin one end.
Yeah.
And then you could float the other, which would still make it fairly simple if something did happen and it got damaged, to go in and rehab it.
Yeah, down the road, 20, 30 years, somebody wouldn't have a big problem.
And to me, doing the poured concrete deck, you put some asphalt over the top of it, seal it up, it'll be there for as long as the dam structure. If you do the beams and timber like we have, you're gonna be replacing it long before they need to work on the dam, and now you're running the risk of something happening, and now you're working on the dam itself. And
Some poor bugger down the road's gonna be in the same position we're in.
yeah,
Yeah, we'd like to make this a long-term fix. Yeah.
You want that just as a discussion, or you want something more concrete?
Actually, we probably, if anybody, that's a discussion on it, if anybody would like to make a motion that we, hire Mr. Will Illing to do the town's portion of the drawings for the bridge.
For the deck, from the
deck.
deck. That's the move.
Okay, a second? Move a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, thank you. Thanks for the work on that, Brian. And John. I know he wasn't much help. Dora Sharp had brought up, actually she brought it up a couple times, about our emergency management plan. I actually dug into it in the last 2 months. And it was a big thing, we did it in 2006. Jim had actually done it with, Steve Corba. And I know Steve's no slouch, but, I have a much greater respect for him now. This is not just,
Big project.
this is not just some boilerplate he put together, this is phenomenal. I'm impressed, I talked to him tonight, my conversation with him a few weeks ago, I was gonna have him try and have it prepared so we could do something tonight. There's a lot of names to change, there's a lot of things in here. I told him I still have another week or two of work to do on it, to get things to where I think it's good. And then, I'll run copies by the board members, you know, so you guys can look at it. And then I'll get him, he still has it, thank God, in his computer. And he said that he can put it, he can just change things, it's not as big a deal, which is great for us. So my goal is for April's meeting to have a draft together, so that everybody can look at it and we can amend it or adopt it at the next meeting.
I spoke to Steve onto this, and the biggest thing in my recollection of the whole thing was we named Old Delaware Valley School.
Yes, I actually changed that, yeah. There's a lot of questions, is the EMS coordinators, and, I mean, there's a lot of duplication of authority and
Steve
and jobs, you
reminded me
know.
of that all the board members went down there and took a test.
Well, that's the other thing. You gotta keep up on it, and the big thing with this, I have incident management training from 25 years ago in EMS, and most of us have common sense. The real big thing to this is not necessarily with handling a situation, it's for funding, for grants. Because they're gonna wanna know if you want something, and if you can say, oh, look, we updated this overdone document, that's gonna help us.
And Steve has personal experience with this, did he tell you?
No, he didn't elaborate too much on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So he might be an alternate on there too.
That's fine, that's fine.
You know, I didn't say anything to Steve about it, but he was telling me.
Well, like I said, we'll try and get a draft together. Like I said, this right now, I just have pencil marks, question marks, and then the big one was changing the names of who the people were. You know, as it is right now, if something goes really bad right now, Jim Grier's in charge.
George, just so you know that, I know
You
with
wanna change this why?
I knew there was a reason I should have stayed home.
Doris has mentioned a few times that it's, it needs to be updated regularly, but we're about as up to date as any other town in the county. So we
No,
shouldn't
nobody's
feel,
done
we
it.
shouldn't feel so bad. It's a big thing to update. And
Listen, I
pass
haven't
on
had
to it.
anything to brag about at the supervisors' meetings yet, so
Yeah, exactly.
I want my attaboy. Even if it is on Steve's coattails. All right, the FEMA CMO thing, with they're looking for money back from us, John, and I just got this printed out, John. I would've given it to you before now, it's in the correspondence. We talked to this company called Simmons, and they had contacted Brian at Soil and Water, because they got wind that we had some issues here, possibly. And what they do is you have a natural disaster, these guys come in and they do the paperwork, because FEMA allows, if you have a project of, say, $50,000, they'll allow you $1,000 in administrative fees to do the paperwork. Now, John and I met with the county with Ed McAndrew, who's a real nice guy, very informative, and he said that he has people on staff that do this. This is their job. And he said, yeah, it goes on, this is 8 years now. In July of this year, it'll be 8 years ago that this stuff took place. The previous superintendent of highways had done crazy amount of paperwork. We believe he has most of the documentation. Jim had worked on this extensively with the board back then, with a wish list and a meeting with people, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody can really come up with any reason why they come back on us, but they have. This Simmons, I said to him, I said, can you give me a proposal for consulting support for the closeout of this? This, nobody can tell you, because all the people that Joe wrote down, their name, their number, I tried the one number and the woman was on the West Coast and hadn't been here in 5 years. So you're not only dealing with the state government, you're dealing with the federal government. So we're dealing with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old here. One's not sure, the other doesn't know, and both of them are very surly. He sent me a contract to help us with this. It's pages of deliverable, blah, blah, boilerplate stuff. The bottom line, which is what we always look for, was the rates. Now, I had hoped he would say that, because I asked the lawyer, I met with the lawyers on another subject today, and an accountant, and he says, up to $5,000 is, So, they sent me a rate. Principal, director, $195 an hour, engagement manager, $185, senior insurance specialist, senior consult, they're all up there, except for assistants, in the $150 to $200 range, which I'm not surprised by. The last page where we sign or we don't sign says, not to exceed. This contract value may not exceed $28,000 without written authorization from the client. That's pretty open-ended.
Yeah, no, don't like it.
Okay, so listen, for 25%, I'll do it. I'm gonna talk to, because I had spoken with a lawyer today, and I'm making an assumption, a broad assumption here that the board finds this as comical as I do, or not so comical, with the town's accountant and attorney, because he did tell me that Jonathan Lewis, who also works with the county, had some resources that he said he could help us out if we found this to be cost prohibitive, because we have to do something. I mean, I'm capable of doing it because I've gotten quite an education, but I'm not taking a week off to do it. I'm just not gonna, it's not happening. So, and there stands a chance that one little thing would be wrong, that they'd come back on us on again.
They've
So
done
I don't
this-
think we should
They've done this
take-
in a lot of other areas, this is not,
Yeah, this isn't out of the
You need to just-
How
ordinary.
much time do we have for this?
We filed a 60-day appeal. I've been in contact, I talk to the guy every week, Bill Bernaski, he's the new representative, I don't know, I think he was a Walmart greeter last week, but he's a nice guy. And
Probably got
I told
thrown
him,
into it just like the rest of them.
yeah, well, it's funny, the guy we met with said, oh, I know that guy, he's a golf pro. So he says, you take a 5-day course and you're a FEMA representative. So, well, I'm not surprised.
the one representative that was here in 2006 was a stunt double for Robert Duvall in movies out of Texas. He comes from Texas.
Nice.
God's honest truth.
It's bizarre, this thing is
Nice
too
gentleman,
bizarre to,
but-
yeah,
But who sent you the papers on that?
that's this Ryan that we met with.
Okay.
From Simmons, I'll show you, if anybody wants to see it. It's 8 pages of wherefores and all that, and like I said, the bottom line will not exceed $28,000. You know, we estimate this to be between 3,000 and 5,000 based on this, okay. You know, holy cow,
Yeah.
How much are they questioning you?
155,000.
155.
It started out at 21, it went to 30 something, and every time I made a phone call and asked questions, it seemed to go up.
What was
did.
the time span from when till,
It
When
was
did
a
it start?
60-day appeal
no, from,
No,
from
this is
December
back in-
something,
no,
no,
yeah.
it's,
The issue.
the issue? When it
oh, the
started?
issue, what they're talking about, 2006.
No.
It's flood 1650, it is parcels 1889, 3201, I have the stuff all memorized, I have the guy's names memorized, I have a stack of stuff this high. Every time I talk with him, I take it all out, I go, we met with this Ryan a month ago to go over this. And the only thing I'm worried of is that they're stalling us purposely so they can say, oh, no, you didn't do this, and
just
in
bang-
which
and
case,
just
I'll
bang
make,
with
it'll
it,
be a
that's it.
bloody, ugly battle
Yeah.
in the papers, and I'll do whatever I can. I don't care, I'll sell my home to fight these guys, because the work has been done. They're just, and every time you ask them a question, they change
They're
to
just
something
looking for
else.
money.
Yeah, well, basically, what I was told from 2 different people from the state was FEMA is broke, they're in $25 billion deficit. They told the states, we're done, you figure it out. So the states now, who were looking for reimbursement, are scrambling, and they're preying upon the municipalities within the state. It's that simple.
Hopefully they would just say, no, hell with them paying, that's it.
Yeah. Funny, it's the first time I was thinking of it this year, that I'm glad the camera's here. Hopefully, Mr. Cuomo will watch this. Okay, enough of the nonsense. Does anybody have any more comments on the FEMA, CMO stuff? Okay, and I have to admit, I've shortened up this agenda, not on purpose, but seems I left some stuff out. Like the public comment period. Imagine that. Does, John, you have anything?
No, the only thing that I said was the bridge, if we had anything to do.
Diane? Okay. You had nothing. Okay,
No, I'm trying to get hunting and fishing licenses. They're not having any courses, they haven't scheduled any courses. They've got like 200 people waiting
Really?
for the training of the machines, so we're not moving too quickly on that. But
They have a whole new licensing system in progress right now, that's
Yes.
what the stall
yes,
is.
and apparently it doesn't work very
No,
well.
it's pretty
Yeah.
crowded.
There's a shocker.
Tess is, she said
And the
hers
old
isn't
decal
working.
worked great.
Note to
Great.
see if it's not
Well, it worked
working.
good,
Fix
so I
it.
had to change it.
Yeah, great. Okay, was that basically what you had?
Yeah, unless you want to talk about the conference.
No, that's in there for that, no. Any training is training if necessary. Anybody from the board? No. Jim, with planning?
Not much, we probably will have a meeting this month, we got a little lot improvement, so we guess we'll have a meeting. But nothing major going on.
Okay. Val?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Jim?
BBC.
Oh, yeah, Jim, I'm just looking to see it.
Okay.
Jim,
You ready?
yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Somehow it come off the
Oh.
agenda.
All right. Do I have to be on camera?
Oh, we know you
Show
wanna
them your
be.
better side.
Last month I was here and I gave a report on Article 78 for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And we tabled it to bring back to the board for your opinions and so on and so forth. And that was the first on the agenda when we had our meeting this past month, last Thursday. Okay, the Article 78.5 refers to the section associated subsections refer to public resources and additional requirements for wells which may affect public resources. We believe this should be expanded to include any unit of the National Wild and Scenic River System. Town of Deer Park representative felt that that could come back and affect not only New York State, but any other state when you're talking National Wild and Scenic River System. And so he wanted added to that within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania only. So we all agreed on that. And then in our section 78.62 refers to the disposal of residual waste, and Article 78.70 and 78.70A refer to spreading of brine from for the purpose of dust suppression and anti-icing. Brine shall not enter bodies of water or water course due to the special protected waters designation of the Upper Delaware, the steep terrain, the sensitive ecosystems, and these practices are not recommended in any portion of the Upper Delaware River watershed. Okay, I oppose that. For the simple reason that I feel that we're setting a double standard here. Every year, the state DOT starts in Hancock, that I can see, and they spray both sides of Route 97 from Hancock to Port Jervis with Roundup. In 4 hours' time, all vegetation is brown and wilted. In 24 hours' time, it's gone. All vegetation is gone except sticks and trees. Not only the DOT, but the Board of Water Supply on both reservoirs, Pacton and Cannonsville, do the same thing. Completely around the roads. As is now. We know that Roundup is toxic. So we're setting up a double standard here. We can't spread brine on the roads, which hasn't been proven to be toxic, but yet we should turn our heads when the DOT and other agencies do the same thing. So our water is already polluted and poisoned before it gets in the stream from the reservoirs. and then all the way down 97. Well, that kind of set up quite a discussion, and the chairman says, well, let's take a vote about this letter. And that letter is addressed to the Environmental Quality Board in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, from the recommendation from the UDC. We took a vote and it failed. So we thought it was over with, but then a couple of the environmental towns felt that we should do something. And we left the one paragraph in. The two paragraphs that I questioned was completely deleted, and the wording from within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was left in. So, and the paragraph, all it says is that they changed the 15-day comment period to 45 days, which gives, which is not a big thing. It gives us time to have a meeting and send written comments in. So I asked the Pennsylvania group, are you okay with that? And they said, yeah, so we passed that. That's what went through, and the letter was sent. But I'd just like to remind you, I read this letter, I don't know how many times, 3 or 4 times, dozen times. Never, because I was focused on the spreading of brine paragraph, but when I read the last part of the sentence, these practices are not recommended in any portion of the upper Delaware River watershed. You realize what a vast area that is? You're talking all the both reservoirs,
Margaretville?
Papacton and Cannonsville. You know, all those tributaries going in there, plus that's Sullivan, Delaware, Ulster, Schoharie, Otsego, Shenango, and Broome counties. We're hamstringing the superintendent of highways in all these counties, what they can do and what they can spread on the roads. I mean, people that, obviously it was written by some environmental group or whatever, but they didn't realize the ramifications of what they were writing. So, and I read it, how many times until I saw that? Wow, the whole watershed is a huge area. You know, really. So, but anyway, that's so much for that. They introduced a new Pennsylvania Conservation and Natural Resource representative. His name is Timothy Dugan, and he's a forester in Pennsylvania, and he's done a lot of research with the emerald ash borer in the western part of Pennsylvania, and he's going to be giving us a lot of information on that. Okay? And I guess that's all we got. Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment?
Chuck isn't here.
No, that's why I was looking. Mr. Downs.
Yes, I have some public comments about the several things I've attended in the past couple of weeks. One was the Sullivan County Planning, the Delaware River Access Design. If you're aware of they have selected certain places along the river. They're working on the design, for which Long Eddy is one of, along with Pond Eddy, Highland, 10 Mile River, and other places along the river. There are like 6 sites.
Yeah, it's on the website.
It's a 2-day symposium and so forth. I attended. The things that they suggested for Long Eddy, obviously there are problems there with the parking and thinking of fishing and so forth, and access for the fishing boats and so forth. We do have a problem with where to park the fishing boats and so forth. Their recommendation was to purchase a piece of property that's adjacent to the left-hand side as you go down to the river. which I told them was basically impossible to do, it's just not gonna happen. So actually, there were really very few things that came up for Long Eddie. They had a lot of other comments from other places, but Long Eddie's pretty well hemmed in with the access that we have to the river. The one thing that they possibly might be able to do is to, and I need to go through the town to do this, is to provide a concrete, get money for a concrete ramp. That we would actually make the access to the river much more durable and permanent. I don't know how much money it would be, but they thought that I could probably, with the consent of the town, to follow up on getting some money for that particular item. And I would like to have, I'd have to come to you to get you okay on that, to follow. It's not gonna cost us any, I know the situation here, we're not gonna get any money from the town for that. But it's possible that we could get money from other sources to improve that ramp for fishing access. Actually, Long Eddie has one of the best accesses along the river. It's not particularly muddy. It's
Blacktop to the river, well, not.
no, well, it's, but that comes and goes as the river comes in. But I mean, it's a fairly good bottom there, and so it's a very good access. I mean, we were comparing it to other places along the river. So I would like to pursue that with your,
I personally don't have a problem with that, I actually
I think that's good.
made up
I mean,
copies.
I understand,
for all
I'm not
the
gonna
boards.
ask for you any funny money. I'm
No,
going
no.
for some program that would do. Now, it's gonna get involved with, the people with the river and all kind of organizations will be involved in that, because we're talking about
Oh, yeah.
access in the river. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
imagine what things are gonna be brought up
You
for
can
that.
do it, you know, Trout Unlimited would be on
Oh,
board
yes.
with it,
So,
UDC, the Park Service.
it's not gonna be easy, but,
It's not a terrible idea, really.
I would like to pursue it as one of the concrete things we could things we could do for, the access there.
Yeah,
So that's
Gotta
that's,
keep the line out of the river.
yeah,
That's about all that came out of that particular access design. Because they're basically designing the river, access to the river, but they don't have any money to.
well, they have a lot of great ideas, I printed out the stuff off the computer and gave it to the board
Mhm.
members, which showed that buying that property and putting a big go-around in there and, you know, $500,000
I told them it
project,
was-
also, yeah.
There was just nothing, it's not
Yeah.
gonna work, but.
But what I did get out of it, and I find very interesting, and I wanna, look into, is in there, there's a 50-foot right-of-way on the end of that property that runs between your property and our river access. And that's, I find very
That's
interesting.
my property has that access, has that right of way across it.
Oh,
That's my access.
that's your right-of-way.
Yes, there used to be a road that ran from that, in time, long before my time, that ran down there and went up that lower part, up through my property, on further on up. And so my deed shows a right-of-way across the adjacent property.
Oh, so that's not something that could be utilized then?
It seemed like that could be a general right of way.
It's a right-of-way,
It may be.
it's a right-of-way,
Could be another.
my right-of-way across that property.
Oh, it's just, it's not
I don't think
anything.
it's, no. I don't think so.
Oh.
It doesn't go to the property next door to you on the other side? It doesn't go to the other side of you, right away?
No.
Really?
Cause I found that to be an interesting spot that I thought would be
My deed
utilized.
shows a right-of-way across there, or my deed shows a right across that property.
I'm just wondering if the towns or other ones, well, that's just
But
something
it's
I
a,
noticed.
I don't care, but, I mentioned it at this thing that I
Yeah.
did have that right.
No, cause they show it clearly on that map where they show that property, and I said, geez,
Well,
why the
that's
heck
because
buy the
I-
whole piece of
That's
property?
because I mentioned it,
Oh, okay,
because I told them I did have a right of, because, I was contemplating giving permission for bona fide fishermen to cross my property to go down to that little, where the rapids start, at the, not the island, but basically the,
just above Stacer's Eddy there, yeah.
that, where it's the little eddy
The
there.
erect.
And, many of the fishing boats come there and, they'll stop at Long Eddy, and then they'll walk down through the water, down to that port and fish while they're waiting for either the driver to come back or something like that. And so and I have no, and many times I've told the people when I see them, come on, you walk across my property. And, you know, because I have that right, the first right of way, and they can walk across my property to the good fishing spot. So, and I would like to make, and I'll get into this later when I'm talking about Long Eddy, and
Yeah.
what I'm proposing for Long Eddy, to enhance the attractiveness of the town.
Yeah.
And the thing that it does have going for it is a wonderful river access.
Yep.
It has many, as you know, if a drift boat is going to use that access, they'll either put in upstream 15, maybe 10 miles up, and take out, lay it down at further on down. But it's a very, and there's no other place to do that. Now that in Hankins, they pretty much closed that lock, I think.
Yeah, the red barn, yeah.
That red barn doesn't exist anymore, so
Here's one other
Long Eddy does have the one prominent access. And I'll get into that later, because on the Sullivan Renaissance project, I'm trying to go with that particular aspect of it.
That's a good way to go about it, sure.
Improve the town, so.
Yeah, I had a talk with them tonight with Renaissance, and I had mentioned your project and whatever, so, okay, good.
So
So that is part of what you're planning on with
I'm.
getting up
I
into
mean,
town with parking and whatnot?
I'm getting old enough so that I don't have many hurrahs left, but I mean, this is my last year to really push for
Great,
something to
great.
happen
I'm glad
in
to hear
Long
that.
Eddy, you know, because, you know, we're downtown. We are a downtown. And, and.
You're actually, the hamlet would probably to most businesses in it that invite the public.
But, you know, we have 2 restaurants in town now, and we
Yeah,
wanna
absolutely.
promote these things.
Absolutely.
And fishing is one of the ways we can do it. Now, the comment that comes back from the various restaurants, well, these fishermen come in, they leave, they do it, very few of them eat there and so forth, you know.
Get one here and there.
They don't access, well, we're gonna try to change that. We're gonna make it so they wanna go there. We're gonna maybe, provide some sort of system where we can actually help them. Many times they need, a shuttle back up to there where they put the drift boat in, or they're taking out and so forth. Like, I've driven their car sometimes, just
Yeah.
because I was there when they needed it, and they said, "Can I call a cab from here?" I said, "I don't think so." I said, "What do you wanna do?" I'm gonna shuttle my boat up, so I'll drive your car.
Sure.
So, I mean,
Okay.
to promote that particular, I think that's what Long Eddy has, and I'm trying to promote that very aspect of it. And that's part of the Sullivan, now I'll go into the Sullivan Renaissance thing next, is that we're promoting a number of things, and we have received the class category C.
Yep.
And you aware of that? I think I've showed you the.
I gave you the
application.
letter to, yeah.
Okay, and you gave me the letter supporting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I appreciate that. So we already have money up front for starting to work there to do that, plus do the ball field and so forth. So
Good.
we're on our way
Very good.
to doing some projects there, and I'd like to sometime have you come down and look at some of the things we're doing.
I know, this
I
week
know,
you spoke to me, and I'm trying to get there.
And I have a couple of other ideas that I'd rather not go
Yeah.
out publicly, because sometimes public
No,
things
no,
get out of
that's
hand, you know?
No problem, one
Um,
little piece at a time.
So, we'll set a time, but, so as I said, we have, well, one of the things I need to work with is Dedico. I need to get a little bit more cooperation from Dedico. And I know they're a big taxpayer,
Mhm.
and they're big people in town. I particularly don't have a good relationship with them.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go into the reasons, but anyway. Maybe as a person who is, I know you know something about it, and I need someone to deal with the,
Well, if you had something in particular you wanted, like to try
I
and help
do.
us to try and facilitate, some kind of agreement for parking, or
No,
something like that,
we want to basically improve that corner parking
where
area.
everybody parks in there, yeah.
We wanna have as that's also the corner where it leads down to the river access.
Sure.
So it's a very important corner in Long Eddy. And right now, it's just nothing.
Yeah,
He's agreed to a sign there, but our negotiations sort of fell a little bit off. So I'd like to get someone else someone of authority in the town to talk to him.
I would have no problem with doing that, the board would have no problem with it.
About also planting trees, things like that along his property, which he's agreed to, but he's insisted that I put them behind the fence, and that would cut down the parking. He can't cut down parking. So I'd like to just sit down with you sometime and go through some of the nitty-gritty of some of the things we're doing there and how they're affected by the railroad. There's another thing that I have a little problem with.
Well, that's,
So-
again, like I said,
So-
I didn't believe the town would have problem
Not a
to help
problem,
facilitate
but
parking and agreements maybe with the railroad or Dedico.
I'm not the person to talk to the railroad, nor to talk to Dedico, so I need someone in authority, be you or someone. So I need that kind of help.
If you could help us out with contact information, that would be great.
I'll be glad to.
Yeah, I figured you'd have.
I would like to sit down with you. There's a number of things I'd like to talk with you about, just that need to be, nothing to be brought out in the whole town board.
Yeah.
That I'd like to talk to you about. I mean, for better or for worse, I'm going to live in Long the rest of my life.
No, I appreciate
Sometimes I
that.
regret coming
I
here.
know you,
but,
I know you worked hard there to
I
make
mean,
it a better place.
I didn't know what I was getting into really when I moved here, but,
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, I appreciate that you
and,
worked hard there.
but I am pushing to help as any way I can, and I'd like to, get you to support me, and I'm sure you will.
I guess the first thing to cover, does the board have any problem with the town okaying looking into monies to put a concrete ramp to the river?
I'll put that in the motion.
Okay,
Make
second,
a motion that we allow that to happen.
all in favor? Okay, passed. So you have the blessing of the town to move forward on that.
And do let's set up a meeting to we can talk.
Yes,
talk.
absolutely, absolutely. And then as far as the rest of it goes, is in limbo. I'm more than willing to work with John. I told you that when he started.
Yes, you gave me a letter.
Yeah,
Support.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jim?
Yeah, is there any monies left over from that grant? You know, because if I remember right, that was $175,000 grant to do the study about these accesses up and down the river?
Yeah, it was not for nuts and bolts. It was just purely for
Okay.
2 years of.
In other words, that was,
Guess how much money?
that was wasted then. They should
There's
have
lots of
given,
money for planning, no money to actually do it.
oh, okay.
You should have some bike
Okay.
paths along there.
Do it?
You could
All
have
right.
a bike path along there.
Thank you, Don. Okay, Don, is any, Doris?
You know, I always have something to say. First off, I want to say, well, thank you so much for taking a good look at that emergency management plan and going forward to updating that. I really do appreciate that the town is taking that seriously. The other thing I wanted to mention is I did recognize that the town has a new website. Thank you so much, that it's easy to navigate, and it has the Fremont businesses in. Thank you. I don't know, I'm really pleased to see that.
Jim Smith has been our planning board chairman, is the one who did that. And we thank him. Rita Dreyer had done our other website for years and was good with us. And Jim, you know, just, it's something he does for fun, I guess. I couldn't figure out how to do it, and he does it in 5 minutes. And he's doing it for us at no cost,
Wonderful.
which is, you know, great.
Well, thank you so much, Jim. It's good to have it. and
As well as
easy
we
access.
appreciate the great work that Rita did,
And Rita did.
the
too.
price was right.
But I wanted to especially thank you for having the Fremont businesses, because it does support our businesses, which was part of our long-term comprehensive plan, to support local business, to get their names out. So,
Yeah, and I think the feedback from people coming to the planning board, and this is one of the impetus to improve the website, was to, you know, people looking to move to the town or businesses looking to locate here, that's the first place they go in all cases. When someone's looking to buy the Delaware school, you know, they look to what town it's gonna be in, and they look to the website, and I think having, you know, zoning laws there, having businesses listed, things like that was a good,
And the
you know, good way
building
to,
permit fees
it's the
and
first, you know,
everything,
sort
it
of
really
glimpse
is
of the
a
town.
quick and easy, access, and I just want to say thank you for working on that and getting that done.
Okay, is that?
Is there any news about the school?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
I do know the Calicoon Business Association met with them, they got, everybody's chomping, I imagine their
Yeah.
phone's ringing off the hook. You know, they're all trying to hook up, and, you know, let's face it, that, the real benefit to the town of Fremont's gonna be tax base. That's where our money's gonna come, maybe we'll get a few jobs, somebody will buy a home or something. But the town of Delaware is gonna benefit hugely from that. Calicoon, the hamlet of Calicoon is gonna benefit big, so they, you know, and God bless them, they jumped right on it, as they should have. So I don't know, I haven't heard from her personally, I haven't talked to her agent. Last time I talked to her was over tax stuff, which of course they're paying too much like the rest of us. But, we're working on that, and, no, I have nothing really to report on that.
They don't know when they're gonna start working, or?
They were talking originally about putting students in there in 2014, that was in 2012, when it started, and she didn't, no, early 2020.
Beginning of this year, but they're.
Yeah, right?
Obviously, we
Yeah.
have to submit plans to.
Yeah, there's nothing formally
Yeah,
submitted.
they're not even,
Yeah, so you might see kids in there 2015 maybe. What they're talking about, is small scale, build it up,
scaling
which
down
is
the
smart.
big dorms and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Anything new with the cell tower?
there's 3 permits on it, and they were up there the last 2 weeks, hanging some stuff. I guess they had some guys that had to climb it and hang stuff up there. They had to sand and salt the road and bucket load it open, and
They've
so,
been working on it already.
yeah. I don't know when it's gonna be complete, I don't know. I mean, my laugh about that is that they're gonna call the building inspector and say, okay, we're done, come and inspect it.
So you going up the tower?
So they're talking broadband, and I will be really amazed if one of the towers that they put the transmitters on there isn't a Verizon. I would be amazed.
It might be a Verizon, because I get Verizon on my front porch now.
Well, the thing is, you don't know who it is. This XYZ company is a
Yeah, that's-
subsidiary of PDQ. You have no clue who they are, you know, so you don't know. We take their money, though. Anything else? Okay, we're gonna recess to executive session, for a personnel issue, and then we'll adjourn I guess, after that.
No decision? No decision? Any decision on the executive?
No.
Personal?
No.
Okay. That's all.
No, thank everybody for coming.